Hello out there. My name is Penny Locke, and I have decided to bring to you each day a training tip. I'm a trainer and I train people who own dogs or care for dogs about living with dogs. And I know sometimes they can be challenging. And today's tip has to do with dogs that bark. So I should preface this by saying that dogs bark. And if you don't like dogs that bark, then comes to mind that there are other pets that we can have at home that don't bark. But anyway, that's another topic. So dogs bark, but dogs use barking as their language. So if we can understand why a dog is barking, then we can act appropriately in response to the barking. So I would say, this is a big gamble here, I would say that most dogs have go to barking because they get attention for it. So many behaviors that dogs do gain attention from their humans, and therefore it is what I call a productive behavior. So if they bark, someone either shouts at them, tells them to be quiet. And remember, attention is negative and positive. It doesn't have to be positive attention. It can be negative attention, and it still is attention. So the dog is getting what they are after, which is attention. So I would say that the majority of, well, maybe majority, but a lot of dogs bark because they get attention for it. There's also barking that is because they don't understand something. It's like a, hey, you see what's happening over here? Do you know what that is? Is it something I should be afraid of? Is it going to hurt us? Or is it a threat to our community here? How we respond, as you can probably tell where I'm going with this, how we respond to the bark, the type of bark it is, will be both information for the dog, but also it will be an example of how well we can be trusted. How much do we understand dog? And if our dogs are going to trust us, we have to have some degree of understanding of what dog language is. For example, say a dog is, and I live with a dog called Briar, and Briar will bark when we have strangers come to the house, which I like. So I don't see it as unnecessary barking. I will actually thank him for barking, and we'll go then and take a look and see why he's barking. And 99% of the time is because there's somebody there at the house that I didn't hear arrive, and he's telling me in his language, hey, you, did you know that there's someone at the door? And of course I didn't know, and so I thank him, and then he stops barking because his job is done. I take over from there, I thank him, and I go on about my business and greet the person, maybe visit with the person for a bit, or take the package, and then is the end of the scenario. What tends to happen is, instead of responding in a sort of an authority, as an authority figure for Briar, if I were to say, oh, shut up, Briar, you're being too noisy, stop barking, and all this sort of thing, he's more likely to interpret that as, oh, there is a problem. Mom's responding this way too. I told you so, and then is going to continue to bark. And then, of course, if I were to respond in a negative way, then he's going to say, well, that's great. Now there's two of us barking at the person. So do you see how that can spiral? I have a friend she has 5 dogs. So you can imagine what would happen if one started, another joined in, and so on and so on. You'd have a big pack of dogs barking, and that's got to fray anybody's nerves. Okay, so the attention-seeking barking, that one's kind of an easy one to deal with, because I know it's going to sound hard, but you can ignore it. If you look at a dog when they're barking, they can say, hey, I got your attention. So as I call it, it gives like 1 point for the dog, no points for you. So what I'm trying to get across here is that there's an understanding of the dog language, which allows us to have much more chill relationship with our dogs and a much quieter, calmer household, because we are understanding our dogs and responding appropriately. I hope that makes sense. I could talk for half an hour about barking because there's so many different scenarios, but hopefully just those two for today will be good. I hope everybody's staying well. Thank you for joining me. And it would be great if you could like the video if you have liked it, and then share it with somebody. Maybe there's someone out there who has a barky dog and they could use the information. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.